Alright guys, let's play some more Legacy on the channel. Today it's time to play some Dimir Reanimator. I've been working on this deck for the last week and I'm finally ready to present my 75. Also note that if you want more content on the deck, including sideboard mapping, some tips and tricks, you can go and check out the guide I will link down below. So let's get into this deck. I actually had a hard time post Troll of Casa Doom ban to rebuild this deck. I tried so many versions. I tried the red Mountain Cycler, the Forest Cycler. I even played around with playing like a couple of Unmarked Grave and a second copy of Archon, and every list I built was just felt too all in, if that makes sense. So that means once we faced hate, it just wasn't very strong. So I kind of shelved the deck and waited for other people's magic to happen. And what do you know? A few weeks back, somebody thought of the brilliant idea to basically play Tamiyo and Bowmasters in the deck alongside some kind of plan B already incorporated in the deck when it comes to finishers. So I think that version has like a Baragoyf, Murktide, Oculus split, if I remember correctly. So I liked a lot of those ideas, and I kept working on them. I think I added an additional land to the deck. I think between having your swamp and your double surveil land, you simply don't have enough blue for turn one. So I added a land to the deck. I added a fourth Bowmaster because the format is very, very blue heavy. So you're going to be playing against a lot of ponders, and also just having 4 in the pseudo mirror against other people playing 4 is going to be awesome. I added an additional Thoughtseize, or maybe it was already 4 Thoughtseize. I actually don't remember. I feel like every game I'm starting on Thoughtseize is where I want to be. This is also a card that turns on our reanimation. You can kill opposing creature, pick an opposing creature with Thoughtseize, and then reanimate it. Because that is kind of the biggest problem with the combo aspect of this deck. Now we only have 4 Entombs, unless we get like super lucky on surveilling. As a way to turn on reanimation. So this is also why we're down to 5. But Thoughtseize, Force of Will, of course, that's just generic disruption that also happens to work with Reanimate. My opponent plays a big creature, I Force of Will it, I reanimate it, right? That's going to do the trick some of the time. 3 Dazes, I like that a lot outside of like super aggressive Delver style Daze decks. Yeah, then as I said, a couple of Murktides on top here. Atraxa Archon's still the fatties of choice, and the Brazen Borrower as the catch-all. Sometimes it pitches to 4, sometimes it attacks for 3, sometimes it gets rid of a problematic permanent. Sideboard-wise, I still like Consign, and that's basically because it has multiple applications, especially the fact that it's good against Endurance and Bajuka Bog I like a lot. So I think for now, one-of is good, still good against, Painter, Mystic Forge, Mono Red Prison type decks. Speaking of Mono Red Prison, Hydroblast is going to be good against Red Daze decks, Cutters, Pyroblasts, Channelers. It's going to be good against Sneak Attack, Painter, Red Stompy, and, Rite of Flame, Burning Wish decks. Force Negation against opposing combo, Fairy Macabre against opposing, Reanimate or Oopsol spells. Then I have 3 Baragoyfs. I really want to go big here. I really want to be my Dimir midrange deck post-sideboard. Let's see if I succeed doing that. 4 spot removal spells with a 3 push, very standard. And then a copy of Bitter Triumph that I'm hoping will sometimes kill, Karn, Teferi, Flip Tamios, and then every now and again, bin a fatty from my hand. I do have to think about life total, though, because the challenge I played this weekend with this deck, it actually came up that I could have slow rolled a land. It was a Flooded Strand, I remember. And then I had to Bitter Triumph 3 times, which is also, very rare. This was a game where I had uncontested Tamiyo, and I ended up losing because I have to discard my Bowmaster instead of being able to pay 3 life, or discard, the Flooded Strand. I couldn't pay 3 life because my plan was to kill a Baragoyf, then reanimate it, and I was at 6 life at the point. So games like that always make you wonder, so I'll definitely play that with more consideration in the future. Then a single explosives for random jazz like construct tokens, rhinos, etc., but mainly for Chalice of the Void. So I think that's going to do it for the deck tech. I'm going to be heading into some matches, and yeah, let's see how it performs. All right, let's play some Magic the Gathering here. Nice little Searlander here to kick things off. Zero lander again. Not good. Not good. Very bad start here. Also, I think I remember this name from last year. This player used to play a lot of mono black, which was pretty cool to see. Not what I want to see, though, with this hand. So maybe this is how we play. So I kind of keep it playing of, hopefully I get to Thoughtseize something and Daze something and then play a Murktide. But I feel like I'm just getting crushed here by... That's too funny. Okay, Dark Ritual, Voidwalker, and that's the dream. My opponent's living the dream, and I love it for that guy. Okay, so now it's, you know, it's a tough choice, because you could argue I was supposed to concede the game right here. I really don't think I have a chance this game, so what I'm going to do is here is conceal info of my Flooded Strain and then concede to my opponent's next play, basically. Yeah, that's a powerful start. Dark Ritual into some dorks, with one of them being an unbeatable Hate Bear. Another Goyf, Tameo, and let's go to sideboarding. So my opponent's playing the 8 Goyf deck. That's pretty cool. So I love all of these cards. Do I like explosives? That's the thing. Forceful and Daze are maybe just bad against my opponent. So maybe I just go minus those guys, plus these, and hope for the best. Let's see. Wasteland is obviously not good against mono black. Can I do any smart? Maybe just add the Bitter Triumph here. So the good thing is my opponent doesn't know I'm on a graveyard deck. I could have just, mulliganed to 5 and didn't do anything. Kind of curious what my opponent does with that info. All right. You can Thoughtseize turn 1, start looking turn 2 with some Ponders. Very rough start to this. I've actually been pretty impressed by mono black on paper, but you'll know that if you watched my Metagame Monday. I always mention it when it does well. I think when the format is enough about graveyard, I think it's a good choice. Let's resolve this Thoughtseize. Opponent has him to Torok. That card is going to be annoying. Let's see. So they have a bunch of lands. I don't care about Wasteland. You can argue I should take the Nether Goyf and get disrupted. Okay, maybe we take the Nether Goyf. For the time being, I don't care about the discard spells. Let's see. Yep, that card is gone. So this is going to be a long one. Then hopefully my me being a cantrip deck favors me in a longer game. My opponent decides to go for turn 1 Thoughtseize over turn 1 Wasteland. I like that decision a lot. So for now, my opponent thinks I'm blue-black tempo, which is not bad. I will say, in order to force a game 3, I do have to win this game, so that's where that plan gets a bit worse. Ooh, Tameo, not bad. So now, let's see. I'm getting him the next turn. So that means I might want to hide the best card on top of my deck with Ponder instead of having the best card in hand. Let's start by casting Ponder. Okay, couple of pushes. Couple of pushes, probably not bad. So what I can do is I can draw the land, leave 2 pushes on top, play the Tameo. Maybe that's how you play. Let's try this. Draw, no shuffle, play Tameo. Give myself the chance to get left with a Ponder here. But even if I don't, it's not a problem. And then I have 2 actual spells on top of my deck. And I'm hoping now that my opponent has to go him, doesn't have a Fatal Push. Because then I'm easily outgrinding that plan with Tameo. Okay, so my opponent kills Tamiyo here. Okay, that's pretty well played here by the opponent. So they went Ritual, kill that card after playing Natural Swamp. So, wait a minute. I know about my opponent's hand, I guess. So let's see. I have a Fatal Push on top. I'm getting himmed. Guess we just cast this card and see what happens. Okay, this is awesome. So now I get to play another Tamiyo. I can play my fetch. Was that bad? No, I think that was good. Because I actually want 3 lands after getting himmed. And then I'm getting Tamiyo up and running. And I like my spot. Okay, here's that. So my opponent's... I lost track of 1 card here. Let's see. I didn't get wasted. Okay, him the Torak. Perfect. So now I'm flipping my Tamiyo. Let's do that. Animate dead. Animate dead. So let's see. Sorcery, land, instant creature. So I can now animate dead I guess a 3/5. Is that it? Yeah, that's true. Do I want to do that? Maybe I just go... I guess Bowmaster is slightly annoying now. Do I want that Nether Goyf? I think I don't have to. I can wait. So what do I do here? So maybe I just go like push there, animate that there, flip Tamiyo, plus play a land, crack a clue, fatal push left on top. Considering I think that's my best card, I want to play around my opponent drawing Baragoyf. So I'm hiding that for potential Thoughtseize. Okay, they managed to find another one. So I guess they don't have that delta. I must have counted that twice. Or, well, okay, so the last card is delta. Okay, I get a little confused here. So I feel like I should draw the push, and now... Huh. Probably go and animate Death to Tamiyo. Pretty funny. I feel like that card advantage is just what's gonna win me this game. It would be awesome if my opponent could stop drawing removal spells for the Tamiyo. So there's the delta. Let's see if they have another surveil. Here comes Nethergoyf from the graveyard. Being a 3/4. Okay, so that's not nothing. Here's Stalker. So let me think here. Which card should I kill? I guess we can learn more about that after surveilling. It's kind of a good trick. And now the opponent will wasteland me for sure. And I'll kill one of those creatures. Maybe, am I okay fighting a 4/5 Nethergoyf? Because I am killing the Stalker, if that's the case. My opponent is currently considering whether they should ensure that the Stalker will grow next turn as well. Or simply just wasteland now and then risk that it never grows. If my opponent wastelands now, I'm gonna kill the Nethergoyf. because then I'm just battling at 2/2. Okay, so I guess let's learn more here. Brazen Borrower. That is an even better reason to kill the Nethergoyf, because bouncing the Stalker is actually a pretty big thing. So for the time being, my opponent cannot replay Nethergoyf because only 4 card types, including the Nethergoyf, is in there. I think I should crack my clue right away and then just have Brazen Borrower as a card in my back pocket. So funnily enough, my opponent has 0 sign that I'm on Reanimator. Draw Fatal Push is not bad. Let's see. So my opponent cannot kill my Tamiyo just yet. They need to grow the Stalker once more. Voidwalker. Okay. So I take the damage. I then, on the end step where it's too late for the Stalker to trigger, kill the Voidwalker. Alright. Slow and steady here. But I feel like every time I attack with Tamiyo, that's going to put me closer to victory. So let's do that. Brainstorm is not bad. Do I want to go for that right now? What's the upside? The upside is playing around Bowmaster from the top of my opponent's deck. The upside is hitting something like Entomb, Reanimate. And of course, flipping the Tamiyo. Also quite relevant. So Thoughtseize and Land are just bad. Flip. For some reason, I forgot about the Tamiyo. Maybe it's because I reanimated it. Let's see. I still have a Surveillant left in my deck, so let's play out that card. So now Tamiyo is kind of this punching bag, and this is the exact spot that I talked about where I have my cantrips, so I'm more likely to draw a relevant card in this spot than my opponent. With that being said, my opponent's done a very good job of drawing action here. All right, oh, okay, I guess that's just another guy from the graveyard. Got it. Another guy from the yard. Second Sewers. This should tip off my opponent, unfortunately. Baraggoyf, very strong. My opponent has 1 card. 5 loyalty. I probably should brainstorm first here before getting in trouble against a Bowmaster. Wasteland is bad. Second Entomb is bad. So let's go Baraggoyf, upkeep, stop, pass. My opponent needs to kill the Baraggoyf. Otherwise, it's game over. Oh, Menace. I forgot about Menace, actually. Okay, okay. My opponent's still playing the game. So now I have to think about equity for game 3, funnily enough, with this Entomb, because I really feel like I'm winning this game. Should I tip my opponent off that I'm a Reanimator deck? Can I win without it? I think that's kind of the question I have to ask here. Because I'm attacking with Baraggoyf, that's so powerful. I'm drawing Wasteland. I'll try and draw the Wasteland. Attacking with a 5/6. Drum block. Then the opponent can sacrifice so I don't get life. Okay, 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 I see. Good play. Plus play Wasteland. Should I do it? How many fell the Profane did they cast yet? 1, 2. If you draw another, that is handling something. I think because I have Brazen, I'm not going to do it. Also have to think about Descent. Ah, it's not like Revolt. Thoughtseize. Okay, so maybe bounce. No, bounce the Stalker, right? I bounce the Stalker in response here. Now the question is, should I fire off this Entomb? Or should I simply just draw the second copy? So my opponent's considering if they should sacrifice in response. Maybe. So I'm taking off a Planeswalker. That's awesome. Should I play this card or should I Entomb? Maybe I should just Entomb. Okay. Magic's a hard game. Let's put an Atraxa into the graveyard and try and draw a Reanimate or... Yeah, Animate. I guess Animate Dead is gone, so let's try and draw a Reanimate. So Tameo getting attacked for 3 there is, you know, a mouthful. My opponent has... Okay, they had a land. Now they play the land because they want to block Sacrifice. And I draw Reanimate. That's kind of funny. So I guess we should just get this game over with. That was kind of fortunate. I had some pushes to delay the game. I was able to take advantage of the exact scenario that I talked about where, you know, they can draw swamp more often than I can draw land, and I have cantrips to kind of fix that. So they play the 8/1 drops, so explosive is good there. And then maybe I get to do some nasty things with explosives for 2. I think this is quite the tough matchup. This deck is a reason to play mono black, so I'm not thrilled to play against that deck, but I think we had some interesting choices at the very least. So usually I would say that having the Entomb Reanimate package puts a lot of pressure on the opponent. The problem is my opponent's deck is automatically reasonable because you play like Thoughtseizes and Voidwalkers and what have you. Yeah, this hand is awesome. We get to do a little bit of everything. We have some good potential. I like to talk about that when I'm evaluating opening hands. So obviously this Entomb is a dead card, but it has a lot of potential. So depending on my opponent's hand, they might have to take it here, which is not ideal. So even if they have, let's see. If my opponent has Voidwalker and they take Thoughtseize, I can still Entomb in response to that Voidwalker, which might be a problem for the opponent. And then it's a matter of, would you rather take your medicine, get the Entomb out of there now, or simply dare me to draw a Reanimate before it's too late? Good options to have, but they can also all backfire. Also, the opponent has to worry about, you know, just solid creatures like Bowmasters and Baragoyf. Okay, they take their medicine and say, I'll fight you on the fair axis, which is respectable. I draw an Animate Dead there, which is funny. Okay, so let's Thoughtseize. We're going to be taking our opponent's best card here. So this is actually cool. So even though they had Voidwalker, they had to take my Graveyard Avenue simply because of the play pattern of Swamp Pass on my side. So let's think about this. So Bowmasters, I don't care about because I have my own Bowmasters, but that's only if I don't get himmed. That card, Voidwalker, is very annoying. Maybe I should take... Let's see. My opponent doesn't have second black. What if I take the Voidwalker and then I look to Not necessarily animate it, but then have animate dead for Baragoyf later. Looks like my opponent simply cannot beat Baragoyf. Maybe him to Tor, I guess, the card. If they draw Swamp, which we should assume. Am I beating the Voidwalker? Voidwalker is very annoying. Okay, I take the Voidwalker for numerous reasons. It also unlocks, you know, Entomb on my side. The opponent draws the land, so there's that. So now I'm hoping to keep the Flooded. I don't keep the Flooded. Okay. This can be brutal. So the opponent's hand has double Wasteland, which even invalidates like Underground Sea as a good draw. So thankfully for me, that was a bad draw. My opponent has 2 Wastelands and Bowmasters in hand, which gives me a lot of time to recover. Okay. So, yeah, things didn't exactly transpire like I wanted to. I took the Voidwalker because it disrupted my game plan. It attacks. It's annoying, right? And now, obviously, I draw a removal spell and brick. The good thing is my opponent is also bricking quite a bit here, and I just have to draw land, and I'm probably winning the game. Thought cease. Yeah, I should probably do it, because they can have removal spell. Oh, wow. That's the dream for the opponent. Okay. Opponent played well here. I think with them taking the Entomb, they had to do it, and then obviously they got lucky, right? They drew land. They drew the land, and I didn't. So that's just sometimes what you have to do in Magic. Like the opponent couldn't beat me. If we got to play out our hands respectively, so they made the play that made them, more likely to win in the other fashion. So I draw the land here. Is this too late? Let's see. So Underground Sea. Bowmaster onto Bowmaster. Let's see how the opponent decides to attack. They know my only out is drawing something like Bush. Okay, backing with that guy. Feel like I should. Wait a minute. Yeah, I should probably. Let's see. I have to draw land. But if I double block, I actually have some time to draw the land. The opponent does not have removal. Can't beat any additional creatures. Not perfect, I must say. So if I go to 2, I delay the decision. Yeah, that doesn't work. All right. All right, opponent. Looks like you got me. Another land, which is what I need in order to have just the slightest chance. Bitter Triumph not being a fatal push here. Big punish. The opponent does not run any more than 1 Surveil, but they still thin. It's actually one of the few decks where you would be thinning. It's kind of funny. Voidwalker. So now I need to spike the land or it's over. I do find the land, so in theory, I'm surviving. Go to 2. I will discard a card. Another bad situation for that card. Let's see. Guess my cantrips are just bad, period. I can't beat much of anything. I need my opponent to brick. I need to draw a non-fetch land and then drain the Baragoyf into a hand with no removal spell either. So practically 0% chance. There's Atraxa. And I expect to get my death sentence here. All right. We got taken down match 1. Those games were weird, super weird. So this game, which decision did I have? I had one decision. I could have taken the Hymn instead of the Voidwalker. At the time, between the life loss from Thoughtseize, between me not having a removal spell, between me being a reanimation deck, I didn't like it. It certainly didn't work out. My opponent hit the Hymn, my second land on the Hymn. That's what gave my opponent the chance to win this game. I could have picked this card and then faced off against a 3/2 Hate Bear. Instead, it was a very, very tough call. But yeah, that's what I love about Magic, just having tough calls. And then this draw doesn't win the game very often, but my opponent did what they could in order to, maximize the chances. And that's off to them. Well played. All right, round 2. I'm playing against Eternal Weekend champion Larson, and I'm playing Dimir Reanimator, and I quite like my hand here. Having turn 1 Entomb, turn 2 Reanimate with the Daze backup is nothing to sneeze at. I will argue that my particular version here is not the best against Breakfast with no fatal pushes. So now we're trying to do our best Breakfast impression by presenting the combo this early. So unfortunately, it looks like Larson will be playing around Daze in this particular situation. Putting a Trax into the graveyard. So now I could ponder first. I think I should do that. I actually don't think that deck is on Daze these days. Let's see if I get very sad. So Force of Will is annoying. Brainstorm for Force of Will I can live with. Yeah. So now I have a Trax into the graveyard, which is, good. But this deck is only on 4 additional reanimation cards, so not ideal. And then, of course, drawing the redundant Entomb is atrocious. Here's Nomad. That's funny. That's very funny. Okay. Well, not exactly the best day for the Reanimator deck. A lot of bad things going on here. Not the best display of the deck. So now I'm facing Ursa Saga, which is thankfully not that dangerous. This is so bad. This is really bad. The Force of Will was a good draw, though. Could help me in the future. Should I crack this right away because I play Wasteland? Probably. That is a Wasteland. So Wastelanding the Saga seems important. Then my opponent just has a 1/1 and I have a lot of time, so. Also, Wastelanding now is good because it turns on Daze. Wastelanding now is also good because it puts 6 cards in the yard so I can play Murktide. In which case I would love to draw a blue card. But I guess if this game goes on, Daze becomes my blue card. Okay, it looks like my opponent has disconnected here, so I'll just pause. All right, it looks like we're back here. Larson, before making this land drop, killing off Tamiyo here, which I will accept. I don't love it, I'll say that. Oh, no, sorry. Played out Second Saga. Lost a little bit of track there. So guess I should just play Murktide Regent here, leave the Attracts in the yard, get ready to surveil end of turn. Daze is now my blue fodder. 3 copies of Entomb. That's very bad. So now at least I'm racing that plan handily. There's green mana, which may or may not have been there the whole time. No attacks. I think if my opponent has a plow, they plow there and go for it. So what's my opponent's hand? Nadu. Orso will probably. Ponder is a good one. Yeah, let's try and find the reanimation. That's kind of what this game is about. 4th Entomb, certainly not interested in that. Love the first reanimate here. A second reanimate, rather. So let's try and reanimate Atraxa. I expect to force a force. And then, no. That is weird. So Thoughtseize is good here. I believe the second Merc will be lethal next turn. Enemy Dead, rather, is free. Don't think I need more Entomb here. And which land should I go for? Probably the fetch. So draw 5 seems fair, right? They land. Play Thoughtseize. Let's try and guess the hand here. So it must be, at the very least, 1 copy of Nadu, and then probably a combo piece. Maybe a second prismatic ending. So let's see. My opponent just let me have a draw 5. So I guess it's not forcible blue card. So enabling the Dread return here. Not ideal. Dread return land. Yeah, that's not a very good situation. So let's see. 3. So next turn, I'm attacking for 9. So if I entomb a sorcerer instant into the graveyard, this Murktide is lethal. That's kind of cool. Yeah, milling over the plow is sad to see, but something that has to be done. From the side of the breakfast deck. Here's Shuko. So now I'm trying to think. Can I get... I don't think I can get blown out by anything here, but let's see. Another Shuko. So that leaves my opponent with some 5/5s here. Let's see. So I block a 5/5. I'm not dead. Right? So now my opponent can force me to trade off Atraxa. That's their game plan. All right. All right. And then I play the lethal Merc, throwing the other one. Pretty cool try here from my opponent. They obviously didn't have the best draw. They had to force early because they were forced to pitch the Illusionists. Yeah. Atraxa into the graveyard. My opponent also knows there's another Atraxa coming, so this is very theoretical. So let's see, 3. Need to grow it 5, right? So I will entomb, go for the showboat here. Let's put a Thoughtseize down there. Grow it. Game 2 coming up. One, two, 3, 4, 5. Yes. All right, we take game 1 against breakfast. How can we adjust? Looks like these 3 are awesome. And I actually like all of our stuff here, so I feel like I can only trim dazes here. Dazes for pushes seems reasonable. I don't have anything against the graveyard, but I'm mainly trying to Thoughtseize, push, Bowmaster, or Outbroken my way around the combo. At the same time, I know my opponent's going to be bringing in Graveyard Hate. Do I want this enemy dead, or do I want something else? The Bitter Triumph is not bad. Is Explosives playable? Explosives is decent against Urza's Saga. With the chip damage. Bitter Triumph is good against Teferi specifically. Guess it's fine. We can put enemy dead here. So this is why, like, when the deck is not at its, you realize it's not at its full power, right? When you have to trim a little bit of combo, the ratios aren't perfect, and you're trying to account for the opponent's deck a bit more. Turn 1 Nomad is threatening. I feel like I should Thoughtseize my opponent here, because potentially that could be a dead card in play. So double illusionist, we're dead to force backup here as well. So we obviously have to take the illusionist here. My opponent will then play a Tameo, which I will have to kill with Fatal Push. So that's kind of good. That's kind of good for me that I kept it. But you know, I could just lose to like Nadu and illusionist later, so it's not like I won the game or anything. My opponent is left with a plow. What I could consider here is going Cameo Brainstorm and then have double push next turn. Maybe that's how you play. Okay, I'll Cameo Brainstorm here. I'll also have a little bit of potential that I can draw into Force of Will. So now is like my opponent's window to kill me, which is what happens. Ooh, okay. So my opponent is forcing here, pitching on pitching a Ponder. And then they can plow Tameo and kind of keep going. I hope so. I hope that's the plan. Could just die here, but then I feel like my opponent doesn't care about the Tameo. My opponent with the misclick here. I've done this before. So annoying. My opponent was supposed to have a clue here. Not optimal. That card gets plowed. Here's a Brainstorm. So my opponent lost out on a clue. And my push is now not live anymore. Now I have to beat a Tameo before this is all said and done. But I'm a Bowmaster deck. I have to remember that. Okay. I have a 4 Bowmasters in my deck, so maybe I'm just back to this plan. Let's flip the Tameo. Reanimate. It says I'd do anything. I get milled out if I go for any shenanigans here. Brazen Borrower is also good against the Tameo. Is this a game where I'm supposed to attack my opponent's mana and just make sure they never do anything? Probably is. So Reanimate is actually the bad card. In theory, I could postpone. If I like all of my cards, I can postpone my shuffle by Wastelanding Tundra this turn. Do I like that? Alternatively, I'll have to put away the Brainstorm. If my opponent had a Saga, they would have played it. If my opponent had a green source, they would have played it. Maybe this is a good time to Wasteland. And then drawing Brainstorm next turn. Let's do that. So the thing is, the opponent's an Urza Saga deck. So that's something you want to consider, because I have Wasteland. You know, the opponent is also a 3-color deck, so you want to waste, like, keep them off a color. But the thing is, when they just natural drew 2 Tundras, they are already off green, right? So, and between that and that I actually liked the cards I had available, I don't mind suspending my shuffle for a turn and drawing the Brainstorm. I think this play was reasonable. My opponent's already minusing their Tameo, which is, I don't know. On that exact turn, it was good for my opponent, because otherwise they would just get it bounced and lose all value. So, well played. Let's see if my opponent has a chance here between being stuck on lands, have to put 2 cards back, etc. Okay, Hedge Maze, fix the pseudo shuffle here. Reroll the Oracle, getting milled. And here's the Brainstorm. So now I know my next card is Reanimate. I don't care about it, but in theory I could, right? In theory I could care about it. If I Brainstorm into Entomb. So let's try that. Also, Bowmaster kills the Tameo right away here. Double Reanimate. Very bad. So sorry. What do we do here? Probably just have to play like this. Plus play land, make sure I don't lose to the combo. So in theory, I could Reanimate onto Oracle, but I think that's just super weak. The thing is, does that just turn off my opponent's combo forever? I guess Teferi would be the only way out of that. Is that good enough? I'll actually wait a little bit with that plan. But it's not bad. I don't think it's a bad plan at all. Plus Tameo. Okay, this is good for the opponent. So now I have to kill the Nomad in response. Can I play it smarter? So what happens if I borrow that card? No, I don't think that's how you play. Now I can reanimate a Nadu. So kill that card in response. Let's see here. Now it resolves. Then I have to turn on Revolt on my turn, so do I go for Surveil? Or Duel? Let's see. Surveil, that's the fixing part. The Duel So let's say I draw Thoughtseize, Entomb, Ponder, Brainstorm, Tameo. I think I have too many good hits here. I'm trying to decide between Sea and Undercity Sewers. Fetch. Return. I'll go for Underground Sea here, and I'll be very sad if I draw land, but I have so many cards that are good draws here, so let's see. Draw another Reanimate. I don't even know if that's good. Well, maybe that's insane. Did I just win the game? Let's see. Trying to return push. You know, my opponent could have Macabre. They don't have Macabre. So now, Fatal Push to Nadu. My opponent does draw a card. A Plow. Okay, it's annoying. So now, Reanimate Nadu. Reanimate that card. Start doing things. All right. My opponent didn't like that one, or maybe he did. That was pretty cool to see. Nice match here with tons of micro decisions. I'm not sure how I navigated. Game 1, I had very good working conditions. And this game was very complicated. So hopefully that was a joy to watch, me taking down the Eternal Weekend champion, Larson. Love that guy. He's from my neighbor country, so that's why you see some not English language going on in the chat here. All right, let's take one more match before we wrap up the video. All right, round 3 here of my Dimir Reanimator video. And thanks so much for staying with me. It's always a pleasure to play Magic. And if just a few of you guys feel the same about watching my adventures here and hopefully getting some inspiration, that's happiness for me. I'm going to draw here with a pretty sick hand. Lots of things can still happen. We do play Legacy. We can, you know, your opponent could have back-to-back Sicko spell. And we're in trouble. Okay, so at this point, one of us is not making it through the night. So let's Force a Will the Informer. Lose to Pact, obviously. And we are off to sideboarding. Oops, all spells. Turn 1 kill with Pact backup should be illegal in a lot of countries, but it's not, so we have to account for it. So let's see. These cards are awesome. These are playable. So I just wasted a very good draw there. Entomb Reanimate with Force of Will backup, just getting outclassed by everybody's favorite deck. Let's think a little bit about this. What is this game about? My opponent's not gonna sideboard rather for my graveyard shenanigans. So maybe for now I cut the Mercs. Maybe I cut a land. Maybe I can cut a Wasteland here. I don't think that's bad. Archon is quite bad here. Let's imagine a scenario where I draw a Trax, I have to pitch it to Force. And then Archon can be reasonable. Maybe 2-mana Reanimation is bad. Cameo is not the best, but it's fine, right? It lets me build a game plan around forces. Borrower, really not that great either, but it is a card that can help me not lose, right? Because it pairs with a force. All right. That was not pleasant. Let's try again. This hand is a keeper. I think Consigned to Memory is playable. Playable interaction. I feel like I should ponder turn 1 though. Let's see. What's the advantage of pondering turn 1? It's mainly if I can't finding 2-mana things. So maybe I can just do a turn 2 and be fine. Let's imagine a world where I don't have the Consign, then I obviously ponder. On the next turn, I can still find my Thoughtseizes, my fairies, my forces, stuff like that. So hopefully Daze and Consign is enough to get me to the promised land, which is turn 2. Land pass for my opponent. I'll fetch a Surveil, find another Ponder. So now we have to ask ourselves, is that too much churning and mana requirements? But I think I'm going to be fine with that card. It certainly is a challenging matchup. These cards are good because they actually combine with each other. So I have a Reanimate on top of my deck. Am I interested in that? Yes. So let's see. If the opponent mills over their deck and I Fairy Macabre, they have to reshuffle. Then I can Reanimate and mill them out the turn after. So Fairy Macabre and Reanimate are kind of a 1-2 punch. Worst thing that can happen is I get Thoughtseized. Because that will inform my opponent whether they have to go for it now or wait, and that will probably make my Reanimate bad, unless I can Ponder into an Entomb, of course, so there's still some potential there. With this, playing this mismatchup or against that deck in general, you have fewer decisions because the game is, you know, going to be fewer turns rather, but the decisions you have are way more important. Like, it's very hard to recover from bad decision making against Oops. And that is just the strength of the deck, right? If you play like some tempo deck that's going to win slow and steady, the opponent has time to, you know, make up for suboptimal decisions by drawing better or playing better and getting back into the game. Oops doesn't exactly allow for that. You can see the other game where, you know, of course we'll go off, pack to negate my force, and we're just done, right? I think it's cool. I like playing against that deck. It's especially powerful in the dark. We have no idea. Probably I could have Googled my opponent, right? So, but I'm just saying, it's mainly when you have the info, this kind of dance. My opponent's considering what to do. I'm considering what to do. I like that. Then we're kind of solving a puzzle. The both of us, just different ones, right? So let me pause here until my opponent is back. All right, we're back in here with my opponent's turn 2. I'm ready for it. Let's see. Okay. My opponent's setting up a little bit here. I'm drawing the Reanimate. I do remember that. So I guess let's see if we can spike Entomb. We don't spike Entomb. We do spike a ton of Macabres. So maybe I just stack with those. I think that's a reasonable way to play. Because yeah, then they try and shuffle. I target again. Yeah, my opponent can be in trouble here, but they probably run some discard. I should think about Charbelcher as well. Okay, Informer. I have double Macabre. I feel like I should just let my opponent go for it here. So now what, opponent? I guess I waited too long there. I should have known, like, beforehand. I should have thought a lot more about my opponent just jamming Informer. Like, what to do with Daze. If I just let it quick resolve. I gave my opponent a little bit too much info here. So also I kept some Ponders here. My opponent knows something is up. But they will have to mill over everything. Yeah, my opponent knows something is up here. So the good thing about this is I have a Brazen Borrower underneath that can race this card and kind of force my opponent to go for it. So actually, maybe I deserve to lose to Therapy here. That would actually be quite funny. Therapy on Foxwalkers. So my opponent is going aggro here. That's funny. Okay. My opponent's going aggro. So what do I do here? If I daze this card, I'm basically just killing a pedal, but I am returning a Surveil. That could be worth it. Right now, the Brazen Borrower is not getting it done against those boys, so maybe this is where I fetch. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. I didn't think I should lose this game. Maybe the combination of cards here were too unique for me to maneuver. But funnily enough, this card doesn't help me win this game. Obviously, I can hardcast Fairy Macabre. I'm milling this over. Yeah, this was very nasty. Really don't like how I played here. I got myself into a tough spot. So I think if I just start by dazing the Informer at the very least, my opponent will exile the Spirit Guide or let it go to the graveyard. And then I win by reanimating. Yeah, that was terrible. I'm sad about that. Because if this, you know, if he pays for days, whatever, we're in the same spot. If he doesn't pay for days, it's in the graveyard. I reanimate it and mill over my opponent. Then when they try and upkeep the Shuffler, I use Fairy Macabre for the win. So, yeah, bad play. Very bad play. I deserve to lose this. Let's see if we can manage. All right, now I'm playing a 2/2 to block the Poxwalkers. My hope is that this will tell my opponent the coast is clear. But that's very optimistic. Yeah, I played poorly here. So let's see. If I play better, I fight over the Informer. That's for sure. So now, trading with the Poxwalkers to slow down the beats here. And now my opponent can choose to go for it. 4 damage if they want to. We have a weird situation here. It looks like my opponent is going for it. Okay, milling me, right? Until I reveal a land. I'm not scared of getting rid of all, Okay. So my opponent got to mill me over here. Really not sure what they're trying to do. Maybe they have Reanimate? I'm actually not sure. So did I mill over anything worth reanimating? I don't think I did, which is funny. Now my opponent's passing the turn. This game is wild. Brick. So obviously I could reanimate a Tamiyo. That's probably what I should do, right? What a game. So reanimate Tamiyo, and then I'll kind of force my opponent to go for it. Okay. Tamiyo is a solid 0-3 against my opponent's 2-3. This game is funny. I'm holding on to the land because of brainstorm value. And then I'm going to start attacking. What is this game? So now my opponent will hopefully be in a spot where the alternative to trying to win is worse, so they'll try and go for it. And then I'm trying to figure out if that's actually good for me. Also note that the consign can be replicated, beating a ton of pact negations in my opponent's hand. In theory, I could let my opponent just go all the way. Let's see, would that be good? Let them go all the way, dread return. But the problem is they'll therapy me first. Here's Charbelcher. Do I feel like that is something worth dazing first and foremost? Because I'll get back the okay, paying with guide. That's fair. So now I feel like, let's see, my opponent has 3 cards in hand. I don't think I can allow all of those 3 to be pact of negations. So I fetch Underground Sea and consign a million times here. So counter that card. Future Belchers are live. Terrible situation. And now it's kind of up to my opponent what they want to do. It looks like they're going for it here with so now if I just get rid of those 2, what is the opponent going to do? Let's see. Cabal Therapy's there. So if I get rid of those 2, they can't cast anything from the yard. So how do they get creatures? Let's count Poxwalker. 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 So that means next turn, my opponent can go Flashback. Let's find the blue Memory's Journey on 3 cards. What will I then do? But what is the opponent going to do if I just get rid of Oracle now? I guess then they have some time. So what if I get rid of that one? Ah, this is so complicated. This is why I should have paid more attention when reading Faulted Form's awesome guide on my MetaFi. Okay, let's try and break this down. Right now, the Narcomoebas are on the stack, threatening to enter for free. That will enable my opponent to go Cabal Therapy. So what about this then? What if I get rid of Therapy and the Shuffler? Then what is my opponent going to do? Oh crap, they play double Therapy. So what if I get rid of all flashback cards? 1 Therapy, 2 Therapy, Memory's Journey. Then my opponent can't do anything, right? They do need a flashback card. Dread Return as well. So let's get rid of Therapy and Journey. Oh, crap. My opponent had cards in hand that I forgot about. Here's Spirit Guide. So now, I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing here. Now my opponent can Journey in response. And that will get the Poxwalkers into play. This is atrocious. Journey onto just the Reanimate. Is that true? Okay. Journey onto just the Reanimate. Okay, so I think I should if I just go for the... Wait a minute. What happens if I go for the Reanimate and the Dread Return right now. The Reanimate and the Dread Return. Then what? Magic's too hard. Especially when recording. I hope you guys appreciate it. I hope I didn't mess this up. Let's see. That resolves. Nothing happens. My opponent gets the second one. Let's count how many Belchers we're facing here. Wall Therapy, my opponent trying to learn a little bit more before game 3. Charbelcher, Charbelcher, Charbelcher. 3 Belchers. That's very annoying. And now my opponent has seen 3 Fairy Macabres as well. Okay. I don't feel like I did a very good job there. Very happy with the outcome, obviously. So now my opponent also knows what deck I am on, so no more free value from that. I still have to have either a Macabre, a Force. Yeah, I feel like just any of those cards in my opener. However, I will say in a matchup like this, my opponent will take note of exactly that. And then, you know, keep more slower hands or play for a little bit of a draw go to give himself a chance to find backup, right? So, all right, this hand looks awesome. Opponent's also in an awesome hand. Let's see what this is. That's land pass. So now I feel like I'm passing with Consign. And then I have Entomb Reanimate. Don't draw Traxa. That would be very bad. Because Archon is not that great. The good thing about Atraxa is it digs into Force, more Fairy Macabre, Thoughtseize, stuff like that. And you can even take all of those cards because they're different types. Maybe my opponent's on a little bit of a bathroom break here. You do get a lot of those when you play Oops All Spells, so I guess I'll just pause and be back. All right, we're back here. I played a land and passed a turn. Drew another Ponder. So it's bad that I'm looking to miss my land drop, but the good thing is Atraxa gets me into my land drop, right? It looks like my opponent is trying to pick their spot here a little bit. It's scary. Entomb, Atraxa. Now it's time for a good Atraxa trigger, and I like my chances a lot. I draw the land, so might as well play that out, I'm thinking. Maybe if I hit like... No, that's not a good argument. I was about to say if I hit like Force of Will, I might want to Wasteland. I actually don't think that's the case. But if I hit like Daze and no Force of Will, then we can talk about it. I guess there's the chance that I get land journeyed here, but I think that's... sorry, Spirit got journeyed. I think that's fine to force our opponent to have. Force of Will is goody. Creature is goody. Land. So kind of bad. What I could do is take Archon over Tamiyo. Probably better, because then I can bin it for free. Let's do that. How many cards do we have here? I have 9. So I play a land and I bin Archon. Holding up Consign. I think that's reasonable. So that was not super scary for my opponent. However, I feel like they should try and go for it. ASAP. Thoughtseize. I feel like I should Force a Will that Thoughtseize. Don't want my opponent to know what they're up against. I want them to take like a bad decision, right? Okay. Let's see if I can find one more force. That would be incredible. Land is bad. I have a lot of looks here. Ponder is good. Brainstorm's probably better because Brainstorm allows me to find 2 live cards. Let's try that. Yeah, these are good enough. These are good enough. So I get rid of that and probably Tameo. Then I go attack. So now I have to consider what's best here. Reanimate on Archon with Consign Up. Double Consign Up. Or Ponder. It's probably Reanimate on Archon and then force my opponent to win. Now Belcher Pass doesn't even work. That's kind of good for me. Daze is probably good here. So now the opponent had to discard the Belcher because Belcher Pass wasn't going to cut it against these boys. And now my opponent has to beat Consign, Macabre Daze. That's actually White the team. So I should probably Daze this card right away. Return an untapped land. Daze the Informer. My opponent pays. Yes. So now they have to use the Spirit Guide. And this is hopefully where the Fairy Macabres does. Yeah. Okay. That was pretty intense, but also just very cool to see how every small single decision of mana usage. Am I trying to win the game? Am I trying to defend? How defensive can I be? Even I'm happy I got to talk a little bit about the fact that if I keep 7, my opponent knows I'm not gonna, just keep a 7 that doesn't do anything. So they, out of that respect, they will play a bit more draw go, so I get more time. So that actually made the end step Entomb, Reanimate plan just better than it usually would. Then I was lucky to get to overdraw and bin the Archon for free, right? So there's just a little bit of getting the most of what you have going on. But to be fair, I got totally lost in the sauce game 2. I got not drawn on game 1. Then I got lost in game 2, and I was lucky that at least I found reasonable uses for all those fairies. And here I just had a little bit of too much against my opponent's slow draw. Pretty scary stuff. Also, who knows? Maybe this Force of Will on the Thoughtseize had an impact on this game. Right? I was concealing a lot of information. You don't want your opponent to know about cards like Consign and Fairy, right? So all in all, some pretty cool matches, some ups and some downs, just like we like it. If you guys are curious for more Reanimator content, check out the guide that I'm putting in the pinned comment below. And thanks so much for watching. It's always a pleasure to have you here. And I'll see you back next time for more Legacy.